welcome to our Minister here today. It is lovely to have you with us, Paul. And could I invite you now to start our meeting with a karakia. And Paul is our neighbour, Paul Davison, right next door from the Baptist Church. So lovely to have you with us.
Great to be with you. Great to be with you. Let's pray together. Father in heaven, we thank you that you've made this world and it's beautiful and wonderful. We thank you for the goodness that we get to enjoy here in the Hawke's Bay. Father in heaven, as the Council deliberates today over a number of issues, please give them wisdom and compassion as they seek solutions to difficult problems. Father in heaven, encourage them as they seek to balance the competing interests of public good and private interest, of big business and small enterprise, of old and young, of families and commerce, of the strong and the weak, of tradition and progress, of the needs of today and the potential of tomorrow. Help them to make decisions which will stand the test of time. As they bring the affairs of the Council to conclusion for 2022, may they receive the honour that is due for those who serve the community this year, and may they know the personal satisfaction of a job well done. Father in heaven, as the summer season unfolds, give these public servants rest and renewal. Bless them through family and friends over these holidays. And Father in heaven, as we count down to Christmas, we remember that this is the celebration of your Son coming into the world on a mission of rescue and restoration. Christmas reminds us that you are the God who is intimately interested and invested in this world and our lives. May the reality of Christmas both comfort and challenge us. Father in heaven, I pray that you would receive the recognition and praise that is due to this day, in the name of the Lord Jesus Christ. Amen.
Thank you very much, Paul, and all the best for a very happy festive season to you and your family. You're very welcome to stay, or I'm sure you've got lots of other things that you need to be doing. So lovely to see you. Thank you for coming in today. Apologies, leave of absence. So apologies from Councillor Nepe and Councillor Redstone, who are both unwell today. So happy to move from the chair. Do I have a seconder, please? Seconder, Councillor Apatu. All those in favour, please say aye. Any against? Thank you. That is carried. Conflicts of interest. Can I just remind councillors to address conflicts of interest as they arise throughout the agenda. Item number 4, confirmation of minutes that were held previously circulated. Council meeting which was held on the 29th of November. Be confirmed as an accurate record. Moved by Councillor Watkins, seconded by Councillor Dixon. All those in favour, please say aye. Any against? Thank you. That's carried. Mayor's update highlights. We have a short video to show you today, and if we have any of our community with us today, we're very proud of 2022 and our council's achievements over the past year. The team have put together this short video celebrating the highlights of our year. Oh, hang on a minute. Whoa, it's not. Let's. Thank you to our partners and our community supporting our council through 2022. Some wonderful highlights and some great times and some huge achievements from everyone. Thank you so much for everybody. This is a partnership and a very strong relationship with our wider community. I have got 3 pages of highlights, but I'm happy to table them and not needing to read them out today. We thought it was easier to be able to showcase that beautiful video, so thank you for that. I don't need to move that report. Item number 5. I've done minutes. Item number 5, and this is the adoption of the Frimley Park Reserve Management Plan. A very warm welcome to you, Alex, and thank you for this very exciting work that has been carried out to look after our beautiful Flaxmere Park Reserve for the future. Would like to add anything to your report? No. Okay. So councillors, most of you were part of the hearings process and saw the process and the way forward to look after the Reserve Management Plan. This is about adoption today. Does anyone have any questions? Very good hearings, great community feedback. Any comments? Would someone care to move the report then? Councillor Nixon, second Councillor Dixon. No further comments? Oh, Councillor Dixon.
Yeah, thank you, Worship. Alex, can I just, on behalf of the wide community, particularly around Frimley, thank you for the wonderful consultation you carried out amongst that community. They're all absolutely thrilled at what they've seen, and they're looking forward to the money being spent over the next 10 years. And I must also say the new water storage blends into that park extremely well, and we're all delighted with what's happened there as well. So thank you, one and all. Thanks to all the officers involved with that particular plan. Much appreciated.
Thank you, Councillor Dixon. Councillor Kerr.
I would also like to pass my thanks on. I've had several people get in contact with me concerned about the tree, not wanting to save a tree that's obviously at the end of their life, but to hear and understand that there are seedlings grown from the tree already happening. I was specially asked to pass on their best wishes and many thanks for having that all pre-organised, pre-planted, pre-planned, so thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Kerr. So I have a mover and a seconder. If there are no further comments, I'll put those recommendations. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Any against? Thank you, that's carried. And thank you very much, Alex. Thank you, Rachel and Colin. I now welcome people to item 6, which is the stopping of the road alleyway between Frederick Street West and Manuka Street. Welcome to you, Bruce. This has been a project that has been going on for 18 months, and the community are ready to get some action, aren't they, Bruce? Did you want to add anything to your report? Okay, thank you. Councillors, Councillor Watkins.
Happy to move the recommendations, Your Worship.
Thank you, Councillor Watkins. Second, Councillor Kerr. Councillors, any further comments or questions on this item, please? Councillor Sholham.
Thank you, Your Worship, and thank you for the report. I guess just some clarity around timing from here in the process. Obviously, a great deal of community interest around that particular area.
Thank you. We're basically looking to go to the property owners early in the new year. That's been intimated to them, so the key thing was to effectively get the stopping process underway. We'll then be looking at negotiations as to how the portion of land could best be handled to the benefit of all of the parties. So there's some work to be done, but much of that will be done in the first quarter of next year.
May I ask a follow-up?
Certainly.
Thank you, Worship. Thank you for that, and I do understand it's a bit of a how long is a piece of string question that I'm throwing at you. In the interim, while those negotiations are going on, can anything be done to potentially stop the use of the alleyway and the intersocial behaviour that's happening in there?
I think we just keep an eye on it on that side of it, as I'm not aware that it has become an issue. I'm very familiar with the principal correspondent on that side, so we've got effectively a reasonably close working relationship. So if issues do come up, then she'll get a hold of me anyway, Councillor. So if issues do arise, we'll keep an eye on it. if we got to the stage where we physically close it off, is we have the potential to get into the situation where there may end up being rubbish dumped in there. We effectively have to physically prohibit people getting into there, and that in itself can create more issues than it's worth at the present time.
Thank you very much. Councillor Hickey.
Your Worship, can I just confirm, was it option 1 that was confirmed, or option 2 was recommended? And I have a supplementary comment.
The recommendations,
To stop the alleyway.
to stop the alley, to close the alleyway? Yes.
It took me as a councillor that actually lives next to the alleyway with a bend and the same concerns and issues, just commend you on the effort that you've done to communicate to the owners of the properties and things like that in order to fix some of the issues and concerns in our community. It took me kia koe.
Kia ora.
Kia ora, thank you. Councillor Barrow.
Hey, as a new councillor, I was interested to see that council resolved to close or to get the process started to close the alleyway midway through last year, and it's taken until July to get that formal process going. As a new councillor, I'd just be curious to understand what the process is and why it took that kind of period of time.
Good question. I think a part of it was we had a falling over from our side of it. And it ended up coming back to me to deal with. And in conjunction with that is basically being able to have a good look at it, probably from fresh eyes, as to how best proceed around it. It's been good to work with the community to effectively get to where we are. So I think I have to admit that a failing on part of one of my team. But now that we've got this far, has actually made some progress around it. So I think by doing so, it also has given the opportunity to have a good look at the process, how we proceed with future closures as well.
Thank you. We've had a number of these, Councillor Barrow, across Hastings, where neighbours have come to us with similar situations. It's quite a big process to go through. Councillor Nixon.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I understand all the reasons. I've looked at it and all the rest of it. But I just wondered, is there any manner in which we can close it off for use, that is, prevent people walking through there, but still retain ownership? Because alleyways were built for good reason in the past, and those reasons may eventually come back as we try to get people to use other means of transport.
Thank you, Councillor. That's actually part of it. It's a good question. When the alleyways went in, as we had what I saw as being probably quite good communities. There was much stronger community spirit. As time's gone on, there are activities that have gone on. There's a element of community safety, and with some of these sites, is typically if they're straight, you're able to see through them. They're very safe. They can be very safe. Is when we get into the situation where there's a bend in there, there's the opportunity for somebody to hide around that bend. And I think those are elements around it. Generally, you'll find that they have high fences on either side, so people want their privacy. And I do certainly agree, and I think part of the exercise is that's how we want to move forward, is looking at all of the walkways within the Hastings district. What would be a good mechanism to identify those ones that do have merit? There's likely to be some out there that at the moment could be closed, but they have a stronger link to the community. So I think while we're dealing with one at the present time, is we also have to come back and think about things from that safety and accessibility within the overall community. And if at the end of it, some do require enhancing to be much more suitable, then so be it. And that's part of the process that we're working through at the moment. So rather than sort of deal with each one individually, is looking at it from top down to get a better understanding of how each of the alleyways fits within the local area, the community area, and then make a well-informed decision as to how we proceed forward.
Yeah, thanks for that. It's good that we're looking at those options.
Wonderful. Councillor Harvey?
Yes, thank you. By coincidence, this arose last week as a question to where we were progressing with this, and you've given an indication that some stuff will happen or occur in the new year, but I would like to add an action in some way or form that we are kept in the loop and communicated and informed on this, and an indication of what that next program will be. So, is it a 2-month, 3-month, 4-month sort of process, and what are some of those milestones within, please?
Thank you. We'll take that as an action. Councillor Harvey, if you're comfortable with that. We've got our head of comms here, so that will come back to you. All right, thank you. Oh, Councillor Sholem.
Just one more question from me. In terms of communicating with the local community around the process from here, I know there's particular interest from the schools and the preschools around that area on the Frederick Street. So if we could also have an action point just to communicate with them as to what's happening in the process from here, that would be really good. Because I've got members of the community coming to the school and communicating with the school, as they're often seen as a communication hub. So it's a really great way of getting information out.
Excellent, thank you. We'll take that as an action as well. Thank you very much. So I have a mover and a seconder. I'll put those recommendations. All those in favour, please say aye. Any against? Thank you, that's carried. Right, moving on to item 7. And this is the Hawke's Bay Museum Research and Archives Centre project update. And this is welcome to both Richard, who was the star the other night as we presented this amazing project to the Hawke's Bay Museum's Foundation, Trust Foundation, over at the Century Theatre. Councillor Fowler was there. Councillor Dixon was there. Who else was there? Anyway, it went down very favourably and Richard got a big round of applause and it was amazing to announce the $9 million from the Culture and Heritage Fund, Ministry of Culture and Heritage. Thank you for your outstanding work, Richard, from all of us. Now I invite any questions on this paper. Pardon? Oh, we've got a video?
Yeah, through your worship, just I guess
yes.
just very briefly, and we do have a little video to play, which we've created as a bit of a fly-through of what the new facility will look like in the year or so to come when it's completed. But primarily the reason for this report is seeking sort of an underwrite from both Napier and Hastings councils to fund any funding gap that we may have on the way through. And I think as you would have read through the report, there's a number of things that we can be doing and will be doing to mitigate that risk of there being any funding requests going forward. Not to say that there is always risk and that opportunity may arise. And the reason for that is due to the success of the funding application with the Ministry for Culture and Heritage. There is a condition in there that says you will not be coming back and asking for more money, and we're like a resolution of council as such. So Napier did that this morning, they had a council meeting this morning, they passed the same resolution. So from that point, your worship, will play the little video and what the new facility will look like.
I'd just say that the foundation were absolutely thrilled when they saw the excitement in what the building will look like and what it will deliver.
So yeah, I'll provide a little bit of commentary on the way through, just some dulcet tones as you watch that. So this is looking at it is the corner of Queen and Hastings Streets. It still is, and we have a rounded corner on there now. We sort of initially, in probably the earlier pictures you would have seen, had a more of a pointed edge to it, which would have encroached onto the footpath. So I think the rounded edge gives it a much nicer effect. Coming into the foyer area of the addition, the lighthouse part of the component, this is where there'll be a reception area. It's where the MTG or the staff that look after the collection will be based. And at the moment, the architectural elements sort of throw to the likes of the Kitty Kitty stream, why those stones are there. Quite a significant area where artefacts can be displayed. And this is looking from the lighthouse through the void into the dark house where the collection will be stored. There is actually a slight gap between the two buildings, so that's sort of creating that element, and that's looking back from the dark house towards the reception of the lighthouse. So there are a number of different rooms and spaces within the buildings where people can do research. There's a photography lab. There's
You
and
remember that,
Archives Room.
Stagecoach?
That's the stagecoach used to go from Napier to Taupo. And the racking systems that are throughout in the dark house, it's all using sort of modern technology to really utilise the space as best as we can. And that's looking from the car park to the lighthouse area. The entrance into the lighthouse will be off Queen Street.
The architects also presented this to the foundation, and as you see on page 27 of your paper, there is an expectation of securing around $1 million from the foundation to contribute to the project. Richard, did you want to add anything to the paper before I take questions?
No, it is what it is, and it's cool now. You know, after 3 years of pretty hard slog, to get to this point now where we can hopefully turn a sod early next year and get on with building it. So, thank you.
If I can, through you, Your Worship, just as the Chief Executive, acknowledge Richard and Bruce. There's been a lot of work. I mean, it's we are very grateful to the Crown, and to put it into context, there was $13 million available nationally for culture and heritage investments, and we've received $9 million of that $13 million that was available. It's the most significant investment that they've made in the history of this fund, and I think it speaks to the work that we've done collaboratively with Napier, with our partners, with Waipatu, with the trust. But at the end of the day, someone has to do all the mahi and write it all up as a funding application. And that's what Rich has done, and just want to acknowledge Rich, a quality piece of work that's delivered a fantastic outcome for, what's a really important part of Hawke's Bay's heritage in terms of that $44 million collection that we all know has had long-standing issues around how it's been and where it's been stored. So, thank you very much for your awesome work.
Right, starting with Councillor Shodham.
Thank you, Worship. Congratulations all. What a fantastic outcome in terms of funding from the Crown. My question is around the recommendations, and specifically the wording of B, that the Council approves to underwrite a half share of the total of any construction cost overruns that are in excess of the budgeted funding from Napier City and Hastings District Councils and external funding received. While I support what the intent behind the recommendations and understand that we do need to underwrite in order to get this funding from the Crown, my only concern is with no maximum quantum specified, it feels like it's almost and I can't think of a better word, but a blank check scenario. So I'm just trying to look for some guidance on how we could maybe tie that up a bit in a reasonable way. Which would give me much more comfort in supporting the recommendations.
Thank you. So Bruce, do you want to answer? So,
really valid point, and it's one of the things that we sort of work through is with this in trying to understand what that underwrite could potentially look like. And so when we worked our way through and and we look at the current costings that we have, there's significant contingencies, as we've talked about in the report. There's costing escalations built in. Both of those elements are over sort of about $2.3 million built into the current costings that we have. There is risk. So there's risk around the cost of the bill, and we won't know that until we work our way through that with the contractor. So as an update, Your Worship, where that process is currently at. So the tenders closed last week, and the team have been evaluating those tenders, and we should be at a point where we will have a preferred contractor that we can start working with. And part of that process will be to sit down with them and ask them to price up the build as they see it, working through any buildability challenges that there may be, and identifying any areas where we think we could potentially save some money. through the build. So there are some checks and balances on the way through. So whilst we've all signed up a contractor to build the building, we won't be entering into that contract until we have an agreed price, and that agreed price will need, if it's within the funding realm that we've got, we'll have authority to move on with that. But actually, despite that, given the magnitude of the contract, it will need to come back to council to be signed off. So I think that's probably your check and balance in this process. Through that process, we'll have a better understanding of how the foundation's going with that last little piece of fundraising. We'll have understood where we've needed to go, if any, around any value engineering of the project to pull cost out. And by the time we've got to a contracted price, which we will need to have council approval for because the contract would be on the Chief Executive's delegation, that will come back to the council. So that gives council the final, I guess, checkpoint to ensure that if there are cost overruns, that they're either managed. And at that point, you may say, we're comfortable with that level, or no, go back and try harder and bring that back. And that'll be your decision in due course.
So just for clarification, through you, Your Worship, although we may today agree to underwrite a half share, actually the final amount, whatever that is, whether it's over or under, has to come back to council again. Is that correct?
That's right.
Yeah. On that basis, if that is the understanding, I'm very happy to support the recommendations and very happy to move them. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Sholem. Just note that D, recommendation D, that on the premise of the above recommendations, it is B and C, not A and B.
Oh.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Dixon.
Yeah, thank you, Worship. As you will have all read, this project has managed to achieve 69% of external funding. There's not many projects can achieve that. That's absolutely magnificent. It's been a pleasure to lead this group, and I must also thank Richard for the volumes and volumes of paperwork that he put in behind this to send away to the application. But also, Bruce, I think you've played a leading support role in this as well. So I appreciate the role that you've played as well. Joint working groups work really well together. It's a pleasure to be serving it there, and I'm looking forward to completing the project by 2025. And where to from here? Issuing the contracts, probably the next one. Sorry? You reckon?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. We've got to fill it up after that, though. Agreeing on a new governance structure, and the work is well underway.
Thank you.
And agreeing on a suitable and appropriate name, and that's way down the track as well. So the progress is phenomenal. Pleasure in setting that.
Thank you very much, Councillor Dixon. Councillor Nixon?
Yeah, thanks. Actually, I think Councillor Dixon's extraordinary contribution is often overlooked. So, so thanks for everybody to Malcolm. The question I've got is, the expectation is costs could be higher than we hope. But on the other hand, we're entering into a more difficult situation. What would be the effect if the cost of building this facility turned out to be less than we estimated? Does that affect the funding we've had from the Ministry of Culture, or what happens?
Your Worship, so that their funding is up to $9 million. If we don't need it all, we don't take it.
But how do we decide what we need and what we don't?
Okay, thank you very much. We have, so this work will come back. This is a stage process, big project, and congratulations. We have a mover and a seconder. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Any against? Thank you, that's carried. Yay, well done to the Malcolm and the team. Item number 8, and welcome to Ross, the Director of the Future Growth Unit. This is the Napier Hastings Future Development Strategy Joint Committee. A new committee to be formed, and this is about getting this committee for looking at the future growth and development together with Napier. And so it's a Hastings and Napier with Regional Council, and where development will occur, both residential and industrial, for future for our two large cities. Did you want to add anything to the paper, Mr. McLeod?
Kia ora, good afternoon. Thank you, Your Worship. I can just update on where the other councils have got to with this matter. The Regional Council considered this matter yesterday afternoon and approved the recommendations as set out. However, they've also sought to amend the terms of reference to allow for an appointee to be from a member of the Regional Land Transport Committee, but are happy that if one of the councils appoints a member as one of their appointees that is a member of the Regional Land Transport Committee, that will suffice and meet their requirement. The matter was also considered by the Napier City Council this morning. The Napier City Council have sought to amend the terms of reference with some minor amendments, which I think are in order. They are also seeking to have a member of the Regional Land Transport Committee appointed from among the council representatives. The other amendments they are seeking is they're quite keen that the voting allocations between the council partners and the PSG partners remain level, so they're quite keen for a council to appoint someone that is a member of the Regional Land Transport Committee. They're also seeking just to swap the order of two clauses, I think in paragraph 5, but I just need to consider, and that's no problem if we could approve that amendment as well, because it won't make any odds to the meaning of the terms of reference, and they are also seeking an explanation or a footnote to be added to the section on remuneration, particularly as applies to the PSGE appointees, as to where that figure comes from, and that it be reviewed annually. So I think we can agree to that as well. In terms of appointees, both councils have sought someone from the Regional Land Transport Committee to be appointed, but neither council has done that themselves. So the appointees from Napier City Council, Mayor Wise and Councillor Crystal, with Councillor Bogue as the alternate, and the appointees from the Hawke's Bay Regional Council are Councillor Sears and Councillor McIntosh as the appointees, with Councillor Williams as the alternate. So it is, I think it's in front of the council as to how you proceed, whether you wish to agree to those amendments, the terms of reference, secondly, who you appoint, and whether you meet that desire on the part of the parties to have someone from the Regional Land Transport Committee there. If that doesn't happen, then it just means we'll be coming back with further consideration of this matter in the new year. That's not the end of the world, but I will leave it in your hands, your worship, and the council as to how you proceed from here, and I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions, council? Councillor Kerr, or direction?
So, as I understand, Regional Council were happy to add an additional appointee from the Regional Transport Committee, but Napier essentially has said they prefer not and haven't accepted that change.
So I think that is a critical to have somebody from the Regional Transport Committee, and so therefore I think certainly needs to be Councillor Kerr, although her workload is quite extensive with the regional committees, but you know, but that land transport plan is something that is really important. So and you know it very well. So as the Mayor, I think, and this is so important for Heretianga Hastings, I think that probably it should be the Mayor and the Deputy Mayor on this new committee, and we can always change that in the future as the committee gets on and does its work. So this is about getting started. It's going to be looking at some really important direction and challenges in terms of where our people will do their work and where they will live. But it all has to go to a higher up committee, and it all has to be reported back to you. Councillor Harvey?
Yeah, I'll probably press the button before you said your suggestions, but I was, up until today, strongly supportive of Councillor Corbyn, based on the fact of the subcommittee that he is in charge of, and just felt that that was a better place for it to actually sit. Understand transport, but it is critically important, but it is one aspect of future development strategy.
Other views? Councillor Sholin?
Thank you, Worship. Just a question around regional supporting another appointment to represent the regional transport. Napier saying no. What happens in the event that this council agrees with regional and we've had Napier say no? I'm just trying to understand how that all works.
Through you, Your Worship, it is a joint committee of the three councils, so the three councils need to reach an agreement on the terms.
So it has to be unanimous.
It can't be 2-1, correct. I would just add that the regional council their preference is for one of the appointees to be a member of the Land Transport Committee. The additional appointee was a fallback position if that was not possible.
So do we understand why the chair of the Regional Transport Committee wasn't put on that committee? Does anyone understand that? It would have been nice to have a heads up.
I do not understand it, Your Worship.
Councillor Nixon?
Yes, this is as I understand, urban development strategy primarily. And I think it's important that at least some of the representation from here reflect an urban point of view. Already the two regional councillors, neither of them live in the urban area. I just point that out in our final selection.
Thank you. Councillor Corbyn?
Your Worship, has the Regional Transport Committee been constituted? Do we know the membership of that? And the councillors that have been nominated from the other two councils, do any of them sit on the Regional Transport Committee?
In respect of the second part of your question through you, Your Worship, no, none of the councillors nominated by the other councils sit on the Regional Land Transport Committee, as I understand it.
And the first part?
I will just have to check on that.
Chair, please. Can you repeat your question, please? Stand. Thanks, Councillor Corbyn.
Do we know the constitution of the Regional Transport Committee?
Through you, Your Worship, I'll just need to check on that, but I'm advised by the other councils that none of the people appointed are their representatives on that committee.
Thank you. Yeah.
Through you, Madam Chair, I understand that the two regional councillors on the Regional Transport Committee, Martin Williams.
Yes.
And Councillor Van Beek.
Okay.
And under the terms of reference, one of them will be chair and one will be deputy chair. And neither of them have been proposed for this future development strategy group.
Okay. Thank you. Councillor Dixon?
Yeah, thank you, Worship. As I said earlier, this is a very challenging and complicated project, and we really need some expertise around the table, so I'm absolutely delighted to move that your name and the name of Deputy Mayor Kerr goes in there, item 3. Is that correct? And move that Councillor Corbyn becomes our alternate.
A seconder for that? A seconder? Because the alternate can come and go, to answer your question, Councillor Harvey. You know, the alternate comes and can come and go and be part of the whole conversation as well, as part of the committee. Councillor Watkins? Thank you. And this is just to start off. This isn't to carry on. This is like to get this committee up and running. Okay. Any further debate? Looking puzzled. Very happy if you change it and you put somebody else on but me. But I do think we have to keep this really front and centre. This is a big mahi that's going to happen with this committee. Councillor Harvey?
Yeah, thank you. Just going back to the Land Transport Constitution, which was the question that Councillor Corbyn asked, I did think that the mayors are in some way ex officio or have some capacity, so therefore do have the ability. So just, I only know that because I've been working my way through that, trying to find some other concerns that I had with it.
But it would be fair to say that the mayors aren't across all of the development plans and the intricacies of understanding how the whole transport plan for the region has been created. Is that correct, Craig? You come to that committee? Yes, that is correct. So my knowledge is certainly not at the level of Councillor Kerr's on transport.
Sorry, through you, Madam Chair, we're just having the constitution of the Regional Land Transport Committee checked. As I understand it, and I stand to be corrected, but as I understand it, that is a committee of the Regional Council. It's not a joint committee. So that will have been, just confirming, but that will have been constituted by the Regional Council back in when they constituted their committees, and our appointment to that will have been made, I presume, last week, but we're just again confirming that.
Okay, thank you. We've got a mover and a seconder. If anyone wants to make an amendment at this point in time, they're very welcome to. But if there's no further debate, I'll put that recommendation. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Any against? Thank you, that's carried.
Sorry, Madam Chair, just confirming that you were agreeing with those amendments, but for Napier, of swapping those clauses around and adding the remuneration information. Yes. To the terms of reference.
Is the mover and seconder comfortable with that direction? Great.
Or you can have another recommendation to do that.
Okay then. All right. So at the recommend. You want to add that in to these recommendations?
I think if there's another motion, if I could suggest that that the amendments suggested by the Napier City Council be adopted.
Can we just put that, make a note of that? That the and so is the mover and seconder comfortable with that amendment? Okay. All right. Councillor Kerr.
Through your worship, if I can just ask a question of the staff, having had more time to consider it than us, are they satisfied with those changes will not materially make a difference to the terms of reference?
Yes, I guess the only material change was, and this is my reading of it as well, was that addition to have a member of the Regional Land Transport Committee as one of the members, and the other changes are inconsequential to the purpose and terms. They're purely administrative.
Thank you.
Good.
Thank you,
you,
Worship.
Great, that's been dealt with. Is everyone quite clear? So that has been moved and seconded. Thank you very much. Thank you. Right, moving on. We have item number 9, and this is the Lagoimas that have been received. Welcome, Louise. Quite a number received since last month. Is Louise here today? No, you take those, Craig. Thank you. So, Lagoimas in front of you, councillors. Thank you. Any questions or any comments on those Lagoimas? Thank you, Councillor Kerr. Councillor Butter, are you seconding? Thank you. Any questions or comments? I'll put those recommendations. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Any against? Thank you, that's carried. It would be helpful, Councillor Butter, to push your button or raise your hand. But the old, someone can't see. Right, so that concludes, we've got one more item that it's a matter of item 11, an urgent matter, and it's a resolution to hold an extraordinary council meeting. The motion that council agree to hold an extraordinary council meeting on Tuesday the 20th of December at 1 p.m. in the council chamber. The general nature of the business to be considered at this meeting is of strategic commercial negotiations. Happy to move from the chair, seconded Councillor Heke. Any questions, councillors? I'll put that recommendation. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Any against? Thank you, that's carried. So that concludes our public part of our agenda, and to any of our community who may have been watching with us today, we wish you the compliments of the season and all the very best for a happy Christmas with your family and friends, and we look forward to serving you in 2023. Kia ora koutou. Just before we move into the public excluded part of the agenda, there are a number of items in that agenda, and can I please ask the officers who prepared the public excluded papers if they could explain to us why these items should be in public excluded? Thank you.
Yes, through you, Madam Chair, all the items involve council in the process of negotiations, and or the items involve council being in possession of business information that is not actually part of council or council's business information, and it's recommended it's appropriate that these matters at this time will be held in public excluded.
Through your worship, and I'll just add to that, in regard to the airport director appointment role, the reason for it being public excluded is to protect the privacy of the individual being recommended.
Thank you. Can I have a move that we go into a PX item? Councillor Lawson, seconded. Councillor Apatu. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Any against? Thanks, that's carried. I now move out of live streaming. Thank you very much to the officers, and we move into the PX part of this agenda.